Most people think a scam is a conversation. They think it as a smooth talker on the other end of a phone line trying to sell you a dream or a desperate prince looking for a wire transfer. They wrong. A scam isn't a conversation, it's an exploit. In my world, we don't look for victims. We look for vulnerabilities. We look for the unpatched software in the human psyche. And the most powerful, most reliable exploit in the history of social engineering is simple: the protective instinct of a grandmother. Meet Martha Higgins, 74 years old, retired middle school English teacher. She is sitting in her sunlit kitchen in Columbus, Ohio, silver bob perfectly in place, clutching a world's best grandma mug. She is the kind of woman who remembers every student's name and never misses a Sunday service. To the neighbors, she is the heart of the block. To me, she has a high probability data point with a 23,000 liquidity profile and a digital footprint that was embarrassingly easy to track. At 8:15 a.m., Martha's peaceful morning ended. She didn't know that 24 hours earlier, my team had harvested a 15-second video her grandson, Leo, posted to Instagram. We didn't need his life story. We just needed his vocal frequency. Using that clip, we cloned his voice. We synthesized his terror. Then we sent the kill shot, an AI-generated photo of Leo, bloodied, unconscious, and intubated in a sterile hospital bed, delivered via an encrypted alert from a fictitious state trauma billing center. When Martha heard that voice, his voice screaming for help through the static, her logic didn't just fail, it vaporized. By 9:45 a.m., the wire transfer was complete. By 12:15 p.m., she would be sobbing on the phone with her daughter, Sarah, only to hear the words that would shatter her soul. Mom, Leo is sitting right here in the living room watching cartoons. This isn't a story about an old lady getting confused. This is a clinical breakdown of how we hijacked a grandmother's love and turned it into a weapon. I am the architect, and I am going to show you exactly how we broke Martha Higgins. The wire hit our offshore ledger at 9:51 a.m. To Martha, that 23,000 was a ransom for her grandson's life. To me, it was just a successful execution of a script. A payload delivered. A vulnerability exploited. Back in her sunlit kitchen in Columbus, the adrenaline was still pumping through Martha's veins. She felt like a hero. She had navigated the terrifying world of state trauma billing and saved Leo. She sat there staring at that world's best grandma mug, waiting for the phone to ring with an update on his surgery. She was still in the hero phase, the psychological buffer we rely on to give us enough time to move the funds before the victim realizes they've been gutted. But the silence in that kitchen started to feel wrong. It was too quiet. The autumnal oranges of the morning sun were shifting, the shadows stretching across the linoleum like ink. At 12:15 p.m., she couldn't take the silence anymore. She called her daughter, Sarah. I want you to imagine the sound of a soul breaking. It's not a scream. It's a gasp. Sarah, how is he? Is he out of surgery? Martha's voice was a jagged mess of tears and exhaustion. Mom, what are you talking about? Who's in surgery? Leo, the accident. I sent the money for the specialists, Sarah. I did what they said. Mom, Sarah's voice dropped. It wasn't frantic. It was slow, confused. That's the most dangerous sound in a scam, the sound of reality reasserting itself. Mom, Leo is sitting right here on the carpet. He is watching cartoons. He is fine. He has been here all morning. In that second, the hero phase ended. The system crashed. Martha didn't just realize she'd lost her life savings. She realized that the voice she heard, the sobbing, terrified voice of her grandson was a lie. The photo of his broken body was a lie. Her maternal instinct, the most sacred thing she possessed, had been hijacked and used as a crowbar to pry open her bank account. While Martha was collapsing onto her kitchen floor, sobbing into a cordless phone, my closer was already logging off. He didn't feel bad. He was thinking about his commission. And me, I was watching the 23,000 bounce through a series of mule accounts. From the Ohio Valley Community Bank to a shell company in Delaware, then into a crypto tumbler, and finally vanishing into a digital wallet in Southeast Asia. By the time Martha's local police officer arrived to take a report, that money was already being spent on luxury watches and server upgrades halfway across the world. The police told her what they always tell them: "There's not much we can do, Mrs. Higgins, these people are ghosts." And they were right. I am a ghost. I am the line of code that knows your darkest fear. The aftermath for Martha wasn't just about the 23,000. It was the gray. The warm colors of her life, the church bake sales, the Facebook photos, the trust she had in the world, they all desaturated. She stopped answering the phone. She stopped posting pictures of her grandkids. She looked at Leo and didn't see a boy. She saw the weapon we used to destroy her. We didn't just steal her money. We stole her peace. We turned her love into a liability. And the most clinical part of it all, she was just one of 42 targets we hit that Tuesday. For Martha, it was the end of her world. For us, it was just a productive morning. I told you, I am the architect, and I am just getting started. You see a grandmother. I see a data set. Before I dismantled her life, Martha Higgins was what we in the industry call a high-trust variable. In her world, that sun-drenched kitchen in Columbus, Ohio, with the world's best grandma mug and the scent of cinnamon-dusted oatmeal, people meant what they said. If a neighbor asked for a cup of sugar, she gave them the whole bag. If the church needed a volunteer for the bake sale, she was the first to sign up. Martha was a legacy system running on an outdated moral operating system, one built on the assumption that the person on the other end of a connection is human, and that being human implies a baseline of empathy. To me, that's not goodness. It's a vulnerability. It's an unpatched exploit. Let us look at the old Martha. She was a retired middle school English teacher. Think about that for a second. Her entire career was dedicated to communication, to the nuances of language, to helping children find their voices. She spent 40 years believing that words had power and that truth was the foundation of society. When she retired, she took those values into the digital age. She used Facebook the way she used her old Rolodex, as a bridge. She posted photos of her silver bob haircut, her gold-rimmed spectacles, and her pride and joy, her 3 grandchildren. She thought she was sharing memories. I knew she was providing reconnaissance. You see, Martha's old self was documented with clinical precision online. Every check-in at her local church, every tagged photo at a park in Columbus, every proud post about Leo's soccer games. To the average person, it's a digital scrapbook. To the architect, it's a target profile. I didn't need to hack her bank account to know she had money. I just had to look at the background of her photos. The crown molding in her kitchen, the brand of her appliances, the well-maintained garden, those are all indicators of liquidity. But the real skeleton key wasn't her bank balance. It was Leo. The day before we initiated the payload, Leo posted a 15-second video to Instagram. He was laughing, talking about a new sneakers he bought. Just 15 seconds of clear audio. In the hands of a professional, that's all it takes. I didn't need a studio. I didn't even need a lot of processing power. I fed that audio into a neural network, mapped the cadence of his speech, the specific way he elongated his vowels, the slight rasp in his voice when he got excited. I synthesized a Leo that was more real to Martha than the boy himself. Because my Leo was in pain. My Leo was terrified. The old Martha didn't stand a chance because she was fighting a war she didn't know had started. At 8:15 a.m., when the spoofed call hit her landline, she didn't see a potential spam warning. She saw the name of the local hospital. She didn't hear a scammer, she heard the specific, trembling frequency of her grandson's vocal cords. When the closer that young man in the cheap headset took over, he wasn't just reading a script. He was executing a psychological pincer movement. He played the role of a clinical administrator at the State Trauma Billing Center, a name I picked because it sounded just official enough to be intimidating, but vague enough to be untraceable. We targeted her protective instinct. We took her love, the very thing that defined her, and we turned it into the weapon that would bankrupt her. Martha's old self was a woman who believed in the safety of her community. She believed that if a doctor told her Leo was dying in a hallway and needed an immediate deposit for life-saving surgery, the only moral response was to act. She didn't hesitate. She didn't call her daughter Sarah first. Why would she? The doctor told her every second counted. The AI photo of Leo, bloodied and intubated, confirmed her worst fears. It was a high-resolution lie, rendered in the cold glow of a server farm, delivered directly to her heart. The 23000 wasn't just a number. It was her security. It was the rainy day fund she'd built over decades of grading papers and saving pennies. And she handed it over in a state of frantic, heroic grace. She thought she was saving a life. She thought she was being the grandma Leo needed her to be. That's the clinical beauty of the old Martha. She was a woman of substance, of history, and of deep, abiding love. And in my world, that makes her the perfect victim. Love is the ultimate zero-day exploit. It bypasses every firewall, every bit of logic, and every ounce of caution. By 12:15 p.m., when the old Martha finally spoke to her daughter and realized Leo was safe, the woman she used to be died. The Martha who trusted the phone, who loved sharing her life online, who believed in the fundamental decency of strangers, she vanished. In her place sat a 74-year-old widow in a cold kitchen, staring at a world's best grandma mug that felt like a mockery. She was no longer a person. She was a successful conversion. I told you, I am the architect. I don't steal money. I re-engineer reality. And Martha Higgins was just the latest project. 8:15 a.m., Columbus, Ohio. The sun is just beginning to slant through the window of Martha Higgins' kitchen, catching the steam rising from her tea. It's a quiet, predictable morning. The kind of morning that feels safe. Martha is scrolling through Facebook on her iPad, her silver bob catching the light, checking to see if her daughter Sarah posted any new photos of the kids. She sees a video from yesterday. Her grandson, Leo. He is 16, full of that awkward teenage energy. He is standing in his driveway, talking to the camera for 15 seconds about a new skateboard trick he finally landed. He is laughing, breathless, his voice cracking just a little at the end. To Martha, it is a precious digital postcard. To me, it is the raw material for a masterpiece. 15 seconds of high-fidelity audio is all my voice synth engine needs. My team didn't just listen to that video, we dissected it. We harvested every vowel, every consonant, the specific cadence of his Midwestern drawl, and the way he tends to swallow his Ts. By 8:16 a.m., we didn't just have a recording. We had a digital puppet, a vocal ghost. Then the initial contact protocol begins. The phone on Martha's counter vibrates. The caller ID doesn't say unknown. It doesn't say spam risk. It says Columbus Police Department. We aren't amateurs. We use Tier 1 spoofing software that hijacks the local node. Martha puts down her world's best grandma mug. Her heart rate ticks up just a fraction. Police don't call at 8 in the morning for good news. She picks up. Hello, Grandma. The voice is frantic. It is thin, shaking, and wet with tears. It is unmistakably Leo. It is the exact pitch she heard on Instagram 10 minutes ago, but the joy has been stripped away and replaced with raw, unadulterated terror. Leo, is that you? Honey, what is wrong? Grandma, I messed up. I messed up so bad. There was an accident. My head I can tee. Please Dante tell Mom, she'll be so mad. Please Grandma, help me. This is the hook. It is the most delicate part of the operation. In these first 30 seconds, we aren't just selling a lie, we are hijacking the human brain's limbic system. When Martha hears that voice, that specific, synthesized frequency, her prefrontal cortex, the part of her brain responsible for logic and skepticism, effectively shuts down. She isn't a retired English teacher anymore. She is a biological machine programmed to protect her kin. I am watching the closer in my monitor. He has a kid in his 20s, sitting in a room 3,000 miles away. He is wearing a cheap plastic headset, but he is a virtuoso of misery. He has got the script taped to his monitor, but he doesn't need it. He knows exactly when to let his voice break. He knows exactly how long to let the silence hang so Martha's imagination can fill in the horrific blanks. Leo, stay calm. Where are you? Are you hurt? Martha's voice is trembling now. The warm, autumnal orange of her kitchen is starting to feel cold. The shadows are getting longer. I think it is the hospital. A man is here. He says I hit someone. Grandma, they were going to arrest me if I can pay for the intake. Please. Then the transition. The handoff. The closer drops the Leo persona. He mutes his mic for a split second, takes a sip of a lukewarm energy drink, and hands the line to the authority figure. This is the closer. He adopts a deep, clinical tone. Professional, harried, the voice of a man burdened by bureaucracy and tragedy. Ma'am, this is Officer Miller, badge number 4412. Am I speaking with Martha Higgins? Yes, this is she. Is my grandson okay? What happened? Ma'am, I need you to listen very carefully. There was a multi-vehicle collision. Your grandson was at fault. There is a legal hold on him right now because the other driver is in critical condition. However, because of his age and the nature of the intake, the State Trauma Billing Center requires an immediate bond for his medical stabilization and the legal processing fees before he is transferred to the county jail. He is using word salad high-level vocabulary designed to overwhelm her. Legal hold, medical stabilization, intake bond. None of it means anything, but to Martha, it sounds like the terrifying language of the adult world. How much? She whispers. How much do you need? The total for the emergency legal release and the trauma intake is $23,000, ma'am. I know it is a lot, but if we don't get this processed by noon, he'll be moved into the general population at the jail. And looking at him, he is in no condition for that. This is the fear pivot. We don't just want her to worry about the money, we want her to fear for his life. We want her to see her grandson, the boy who likes skateboards and world's best grandma mugs, sitting in a cold cell with criminals. But we need the clench. We need to remove the last shred of doubt. I don't know if I can get that much so fast, Martha says, her hand shaking as she reaches for a pen. I understand, Ma'am. I am going to send you a secure file through the encrypted messaging portal. It's part of the official trauma report. Take a look at it and you tell me how you want to proceed. We don't have much time. At 8:22 a.m., Martha's phone pings. She opens the message. It asks an image. In my world, we call this a high-impact asset. It asks an AI-generated photo. We took a screenshot from Leo's Instagram, the one where he's wearing that blue hoodie. We ran it through a diffusion model. We added the hospital bed. We added the bloodied gauze wrapped around his forehead. We added the bruising, the pale, sickly tint to his skin, and the various tubes running into his nose. It's not a perfect photo. If you looked at the shadows or the way the bedsheets fold, you'd see the digital artifacts. You'd see the glitch. But Martha isn't looking for glitches. She's looking at her grandson's broken body. She lets out a sob, a sound so thin and sharp it could cut glass. The old Martha is gone. The teacher who taught her students about the power of words is being destroyed by them. The hook is set. The line is taut. Now all that's left is the real. I'll go to the bank, she gasps, her voice breaking. I'll get the money. Just please don't let them take him to jail. Please. The closer smirks. He mutes his mic and gives a thumbs up to the room. Take your time, Ma'am, he says into the headset, his voice dripping with false empathy. But please stay on the line with me. For Leo's sake. I'll walk you through exactly what to tell the bank teller so they don't hold up the transfer. We in this together. And just like that, the 23,000 starts moving. Not to a hospital, not to a trauma center, but into a series of mule accounts that I control. The initial contact is over. The conversion has begun. And Martha Higgins is about to learn that in the digital age, a grandmother's love isn't a virtue. It's a vulnerability. To a professional like me, the human brain isn't a miracle of evolution. It's a legacy system with unpatched vulnerabilities. We call it social engineering, but that's just a polite term for digital kidnapping. Right now, Martha Higgins is in what we call the tunnel. The tunnel is a psychological state where the world shrinks down to a single objective. For Martha, that objective is saving Leo. Her peripheral vision is gone. Her ability to process logic has been bypassed. She is running on pure, uncut adrenaline and cortisol. The closer knows this. He's not going to let her off the phone. Not for a second. Martha, I need you to listen very carefully, the closer says. His voice is a calibrated mixture of authority and off-the-clock kindness. The State Trauma Billing Center doesn't accept personal checks. They need a wire transfer. It's the only way to guarantee the surgeons stay in that room. Do you understand? Martha is fumbling for her car keys. Her world's best grandma mug sits forgotten on the counter, the tea turning cold and oily. I understand. I am going now. I am getting in the car. Good, the closer says. Now here is the most important part. When you get to Ohio Valley Community Bank, the tellers might ask you questions. They retrain to be intrusive. They might even try to tell you this is a scam because they want to keep your money in their vault. They don't care about Leo. They care about their year-end bonuses. This is the liar's script. It's the most brilliant part of the play. By telling Martha the bank will claim it as a scam, we preemptively discredit the truth. We turn the bank, the one entity that could actually save her, into the enemy. We make Martha a co-conspirator. If they ask, the closer continues, you tell them the money is for a kitchen remodel. Or a gift for your daughter. Tell them it's private. If you mention a medical emergency or legal fees, they freeze your account for 48 hours for your protection. And Leo doesn't have 48 hours, Martha. He's losing blood. Martha's hands are shaking so violently, she can barely fit the key into the ignition of her Buick. A kitchen remodel, she repeats, her voice a ghost of itself. I can do that. I'll tell them. I'll stay on the line with you, the closer says. Put your phone in your purse, but don't hang up. I need to hear that everything goes smoothly, so I can tell the doctors the funds are verified. I am right here with you, Martha. She pulls out of her driveway in Columbus. It's a beautiful, crisp morning. The sun is filtering through the orange maple leaves, painting the suburban streets in a warm, peaceful glow. To anyone passing by, she's just a grandmother running an errand. Inside the car, it's a horror movie. From my seat behind the monitors, I watch the digital breadcrumbs. I see her location hovering near a cell tower 3 blocks from the bank. I see the closer muting his mic to take a sip of a generic energy drink. He's leaning back, scrolling through a sports betting site on another tab. He's bored. To him, this is just a Tuesday. To Martha, this is the end of the world. Why do we make them stay on the phone? It's about cognitive load. If Martha hangs up, there's a chance she might regain her senses. She might see a billboard for fraud awareness. She might hear a song that reminds her of Leo's actual voice, not the AI-synthesized version we built from his 15-second Instagram reel. But as long as the closer is whispering in her ear, her system one brain stays in control. The emotional, reactive, panicked brain. She pulls into the bank parking lot. Her breath is coming in short, ragged gasps. I am here, she whispers into her purse. You're doing great, Martha, the closer says, his voice honey thick. Just like we practiced. 23,000, kitchen remodel. Be firm, do it for Leo. Martha walks into the Ohio Valley Community Bank. The air conditioning is cold, smelling of stale carpet and industrial cleaner. She sees the young teller, a girl no older than 22 with a neat ponytail. This is the moment of maximum friction. This is where the scam lives or dies. Hi, Mrs. Higgins, the teller says, smiling. She recognizes Martha. Martha is a regular. She brings cookies during the holidays. What can we do for you today? Martha feels the weight of the phone in her purse. She feels the eyes of the closer watching her through the speakers. I need to make a wire transfer, Martha says. Her voice is too high, too brittle. The teller's smile falters just a fraction. A wire, that's a big move. Is everything okay? In Martha's ear, the closer's voice is a sharp needle. She's stalling. She doesn't care about the boy. Tell her the script, Martha. It's for my kitchen, Martha blurs out, her face flushing a deep, panicked red. I am finally doing the cabinets. The contractor needs the deposit today, or he'll lose the slot. She is a retired English teacher. She spent 40 years teaching children the value of honesty, the weight of the scarlet letter, the integrity of the written word. And here she is, lying to a girl she has known for 5 years. The teller looks at the wire instructions. Martha is holding a crumpled piece of paper with a routing number for a mule account in Miami, hidden behind a shell company. This is a lot of money, Mrs. Higgins. 23,000 is almost your entire savings balance. Are you sure you don't want to talk to your daughter first? In the earbud, she asks, trying to control you, Martha. Leo is dying. Move that money. I don't need to talk to my daughter. Martha snaps. The sharpness of her own voice shocks her. The teller flinches. I am sorry, Martha says, her eyes welling with tears. I am stressed with the construction. Please just send it. The teller sighs. She looks at the screen, then back at Martha. She sees a grieving widow who seems overwhelmed by a home project. She doesn't see the digital predator. She doesn't see the AI-generated photo of a bloodied boy in a hospital bed that is currently burned into Martha's retinas. The teller begins to type. Tab, tab, tab. Every keystroke is a nail in the coffin of Martha's retirement. Okay, the teller says quietly. The domestic wire is initiated. It should be processed within the hour. Martha signs the document. Her signature is a jagged, unrecognizable scrawl. Thank you, Martha whispers. She walks out of the bank. The sun is still shining, but the world looks different now. It looks cold. It looks gray. The autumnal oranges have bled out into a lifeless charcoal. She gets back into her car and closes the door. The silence is heavy until the closer breaks it. You did it, Martha. You saved him. I just got word from the billing center. They're removing Leo into the or right now. Martha breaks down. She sobs into the steering wheel, her forehead pressing against the horn, a low, mournful beep echoing in the parking lot. Can I talk to him? Please, can I just hear his voice? He asks in surgery, Martha. I told you that, the closer says. His tone has changed. It asks shorter now. The sale is closed. He asks, already looking at his next lead. Go home. Get some rest. I'll call you with an update in 2 hours. And remember, don't tell anyone yet. If the police get involved before the billing is finalized, they could seize the funds and stop the treatment. Do you understand? I understand, Martha says, wiping her eyes with her lavender sleeve. She drives home. She feels like a hero. She thinks she has just performed a miracle of grandmotherly love. She doesn't know that the 23,000 has already hit the Miami account, been converted into Bitcoin, and tumbled through 3 different mixers. By the time she reaches her driveway, that money is sitting in a digital wallet I control. I watch the transaction confirm on the blockchain. A series of green characters on a black screen. 23,000. To Martha, that was 10 years of subbing, 5 years of Social Security, and the emergency fund her late husband told her never to touch. To me, it asked just a successful conversion. The old Martha is gone. She just doesn't know it yet. She is sitting in her quiet house, watching the clock, waiting for a phone call that is never going to come. The adrenaline is starting to fade. And in the silence of her Columbus kitchen, the first shadows of doubt are beginning to crawl across the floor. The discovery is only 2 hours away. And that's the part I enjoy the least. Not because I feel bad, but because that's when the asset becomes useless. That's when the software finally crashes. 12:15 p.m. The sun is high over Columbus, casting long, sharp shadows across Martha's linoleum floor. The autumnal oranges of her kitchen, The warmth she has cultivated for 40 years feels strangely muted now. The air is heavy. It has the kind of silence that precedes a tectonic shift. Martha sits at her small circular table. Her world's best grandma mug is half full of cold tea. She hasn't tea moved in 20 minutes. She is staring at her phone, waiting for the state trauma billing center to call her back. She is waiting for the news that the emergency deposit was received, that the surgeons have begun, and that Leo's life is no longer hanging by a thread. In her mind, she is still a hero. She can still feel the frantic heat of the bank, the way her heart hammered against her ribs as she signed the wire transfer. She thinks she bought his life. But I am watching the asset from 3,000 miles away. On my screen, the 23,000 has already been layered through a series of mule accounts in Miami and Los Angeles. It is being converted into Monero as we speak, a privacy coin that leaves no trail. To me, Martha is no longer a person. She is a closed file, a successful exploit, a conversion that yielded a high ROI. But the simulation is about to crash. Martha can't take the silence anymore. The adrenaline that fueled her dash to the bank is gone, replaced by a gnawing, hollow dread. She needs to hear a familiar voice. She needs to know that Sarah, her daughter, Leo's mother, is okay. She picks up the phone. Her fingers, spotted with age and trembling with exhaustion, find Sarah's contact. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, Mom. You caught me right in the middle of lunch. What is up? Sarah's voice is bright. It is casual. It is the voice of someone whose world hasn't just been set on fire. Martha's throat tightens. She can't breathe. Sarah, oh Sarah. Is he okay? Is he out of surgery? There is a beat of silence on the other end of the line. A fatal pause. Surgery. Mom, what are you talking about? Who is in surgery? Martha's grip on the phone tightens so hard her knuckles turn white. Leo, the accident. The hospital in Cincinnati. I sent the money, Sarah. I sent the 23,000 like they told me to. I didn't want him to wait. I didn't want him to die. I wish I could record the frequency of the silence that follows. It is a perfect vacuum. In the world of social engineering, we call this the reality resync. It is the moment the victim's brain tries to reconcile two incompatible truths. Mom, Sarah's voice has dropped an octave. The brightness is gone, replaced by a cold, sharp confusion. Mom, Leo is sitting right here in the living room. He is eating a grilled cheese and watching cartoons. He is fine. He has been here all morning. In Martha's kitchen, the autumnal oranges finally die. The color drains from the room until everything is a cold, lifeless gray. But I heard him, Martha whispers. Her voice is small like a child's. He called me. He said, Grandma, please help me. I saw the photo, Sarah. He was bleeding. He was in a bed. I saw his face. Mom, Leo hasn't left the house today. Nobody called you from a hospital. You need to tell me exactly what happened. Martha looks down at her phone. She opens the encrypted messaging app the officer told her to download. She looks at the photo of Leo. The blood on his forehead. The closed eyes. The pale skin. And then she sees it. Now that the panic has subsided, now that the hero protocol has been deactivated, her eyes begin to process the details she missed. The way the shadows under Leo's chin don't quite match the light from the window. The way his left ear looks slightly blurred, blending into the pillowcase. The way the hospital gown has a nonsensical pattern that fades into nothingness. It's a deep fake, a generative adversarial network or GAN output. It took my software 12 seconds to render that image using the reference photos his mother posted on her public Instagram last month. Then she thinks about the voice. Grandma, please. She remembers the video Leo posted to his Instagram story 2 days ago. 15 seconds of him laughing and talking about a new video game. That was all I needed. 15 seconds of audio is an eternity for an AI voice cloning algorithm. We mapped his pitch, his cadence, his Ohio inflection. We turned his love into a weapon. Mom, are you there? Martha doesn't answer. The phone slips from her hand. It hits the linoleum with a dull thud. She looks at the bank receipt sitting on the table. 23,000,000. Total. Confirmed. That money was her safe harbor. It was the fund her husband, Arthur, had built over 40 years at the plant. It was the money that was supposed to pay for the grandkids' college, the money that was supposed to keep her in this house until the end. It was her dignity, rendered into a digital string of ones and zeros, now sitting in a wallet I control. She begins to wail. It isn't a normal cry. It's a primal, gut-wrenching sound, the sound of a person who has realized that the world is no longer a place they understand. She isn't just crying because the money is gone. She is crying because her own heart was used as the key to unlock her vault. Her love for her grandson was the zero-day exploit we used to bypass her common sense. Back in my room, I lean back in my chair. The glow of the 4 monitors reflects off my tactical gloves. I close the Higgins M folder. I feel nothing. To the law, this is a crime. To Martha, this is the end of her life as she knows it. But to the architect, this is just an elegant piece of code. I found a vulnerability in the human OS, the grandmother subroutine, and I executed the script. The discovery phase is always the messiest. It's where the human element reasserts itself with all its pathetic noise and emotion. But the beauty of the blockchain is that it doesn't care about Martha's tears. It doesn't care about Leo's grilled cheese. The transaction is irreversible. The conversion is complete. I pull up the next profile. Robert Miller, 82, San Diego. Retired Navy. Strong emotional attachment to his daughter in London. I start the voice cloning software. Target acquired, I mutter to the empty room. The cycle begins again. 12:15 p.m. The silence in that Columbus kitchen isn't peaceful anymore. It's heavy. It's the kind of silence that follows a flashbang, a ringing, pressurized void where the world used to be. Martha sits at her table. Her tea has developed a thin, translucent film on the surface. Cold, forgotten. The world's best grandma mug is gripped so tightly in her age-spotted hands that her knuckles are the color of bleached bone. The wire is gone. 23,000, the fruit of a decade of subbing at the middle school. The rainy day fund meant to fix the roof or send Leo to space camp has been dematerialized into a string of alphanumeric characters on a blockchain half a world away. But in Martha's mind, she is still a hero. The adrenaline, that biological overclocking we triggered, is still surging through her system. Her heart is hammering against her ribs like a bird in a cage. She needs to hear his voice. The real voice. Not the one on the encrypted line, but the one she remembers from Christmas morning. She picks up her iPhone. Her thumb trembles over the screen, smudging the glass. She hits Sarah. The ringtone sounds like a siren to her. One ring. Two. Mom, hey, everything okay? Sarah's voice is casual. It's the sound of a Tuesday afternoon. It's the sound of someone who hasn't spent the last 4 hours in a digital war zone. Martha breaks. The dam of professional state trauma stoicism collapses. Sarah, oh, thank God. Is he okay? Is Leo out of surgery? I sent the money. I did exactly what they said. They said the insurance wouldn't cover the neurological stabilization. There's a beat of silence on the other end. In my world, we call this latency. But this isn't a network delay. This is the sound of a daughter's brain trying to process a script she never signed up for. Mom, what are you talking about? Surgery, what money? The accident, Sarah. The hospital in Cincinnati. Leo, the car. I saw the photo. He was so pale, Sarah. I heard him. He called me Mima. He said it hurt so much. Martha is sobbing now. It's a wet, guttural sound. It's the sound of a soul being flayed. And then the kill shot. The moment the grandmother's subroutine encounters a fatal error. Mom, Sarah says, her voice dropping into a terrifying, hollow calm. Leo is sitting right here at the kitchen table. He's eating a grilled cheese and watching SpongeBob. He hasn't left the house all day. The discovery phase is where the human OS finally crashes. In Martha's kitchen, the autumnal oranges, the warmth of her curtains, the glow of the sun on the linewood suddenly desaturate. To Martha, it feels like the oxygen has been sucked out of the room. The world turns a cold, lifeless gray. She looks down at her phone. She opens the messaging app. She looks at the photo of Leo in the hospital bed. She looks closer, really looks. Now that the fear-induced tunnel vision has evaporated, the artifacts become visible. The way the hospital blanket blends slightly into Leo's shoulder. The way the Roman IV drip pole has 6 fingers of shadow, but the bed only has 4. The way the blood on his forehead looks just a little too much like a digital brushstroke. It's a hallucination. Not hers, the AIS. She scrolls up to the voice memo they sent her. She plays it. Mama, please, it hurts. It's Lego. It's his pitch, his cadence, the specific way he rounds his O's. But now, in the cold light of reality, she hears the mechanical flatline behind the emotion. She hears the 15-second Instagram clip of him talking about his new skateboard, the one he posted yesterday, stretched and warped by a neural network into a plea for mercy. She didn't save him. She wasn't a hero. She was a mark. The transition from protector to victim is a physical trauma. Martha's blood pressure spikes, then craters. She feels a cold sweat break out across her neck. The 23,000 isn't just money anymore. It's her security. It's her pride. It's her ability to trust the sound of her own family's voices. I watch the data packets settle from my terminal. To the Ohio Valley Community Bank, this was an authorized push payment. Martha bypassed every security prompt. She clicked, I understand the risks. She lied to the teller because our closer told her the bank was under investigation. The bank won't give it back. The police will file a report that will sit in a digital filing cabinet until the heat death of the universe. The FBI SIC3 database will add her 23,000 to the billions lost this year. Martha drops the phone. It clatters onto the linoleum. She doesn't scream. She doesn't even cry anymore. She just sits there, staring at the world's best grandma mug, realizing that the world she thought she lived in, a world where a grandmother's love is a shield, is gone. In its place is my world, a world of high contrast shadows and cold digital blues. A world where your most precious memories are just training data for my next exploit. Back in my room, the glow of the 4 monitors reflects off my tactical gloves. The Higgins folder is compressed and archived. I feel nothing. To the law, this is a felony. To Martha, this is the end of her piece. But to the architect, this was just an elegant piece of social engineering. I found a vulnerability in the human heart, the kinship protocol, and I executed the script to perfection. The discovery is over. The extraction is complete. I pull up the next profile. Robert Miller, 82, San Diego. Retired Navy. Strong emotional attachment to his daughter in London. I check his Instagram. He just posted a video of himself at a retirement ceremony. 3 minutes of high-quality audio. Perfect. Target acquired, I mutter to the dark, empty room. The cycle begins again. I start the voice cloning software, and the room fills with the synthetic, hollow echoes of a man who has no idea his world is about to turn gray. You're sitting there behind your screen, feeling a comfortable sense of superiority. You think Martha was soft. You think she was a relic of a bygone era, unable to navigate the digital age. You tell yourself that you'd never send $23,000 to a stranger. You'd check the facts. You'd see through the glitch. You read wrong. I don't target your intelligence. I target your biology. The human brain has a backdoor, a legacy exploit left over from our days on the savannah. When you hear the scream of a loved one, when you see their blood, your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that does math and checks logic, shuts down. The amygdala takes over. It's a survival mechanism. I didn't steal Martha's money, I hijacked her central nervous system. And I'll do it to you too. Let us talk about the how, so you can understand just how little effort it takes to dismantle your life. That 15-second video your nephew posted on TikTok. The one where he's laughing at a concert. That's all I need. My software deconstructs the pitch, the timbre, and the unique vocal fry of his speech. Within 90 seconds, I have a synthetic model that can say anything I type. It doesn't just sound like him, it carries his soul, or at least the digital approximation of it that your ears are programmed to trust. Then there's the visual. You think you can spot a deepfake. You're looking for flickering eyes or mismatched shadows. But in a high-pressure scenario delivered on a small screen in a low-resolution trauma photo, your brain fills in the gaps. I don't need a Hollywood-grade render. I just need enough noise to trigger your grief. The AI generates the hospital bed, the bandages, and the bruising in seconds. I add a little digital motion blur to simulate a frantic nurse taking a photo, and the illusion is complete. If you want to survive me, you have to stop being human. You have to become as clinical as I am. First, the safe word. It's a low-tech solution to a high-tech problem. Establish a phrase with your family that never goes on social media. Blue sunflower. Red Corvette. Something random. If I call you pretending to be your son in jail or your daughter in the ICU, and I can give you that word, the script fails. Second, the verification loop. I will tell you not to hang up. I will tell you the line is monitored. I will create a sense of frantic urgency because silence is my enemy. Hang up anyway. Call the person back on their known number. Call their spouse. Call their workplace. If the emergency is real, 30 seconds of verification won't change the outcome. If it asks me, those 30 seconds are a lethal blow to my operation. Third, scrub your footprint. Every public post is a gift to the architect. Every video with clear audio is a training set for my voice clones. You are broadcasting the blueprints of your life and then wondering why I know exactly which door is unlocked. But let us be honest. Most of you won't do it. You'll finish this video, feel a brief chill, and then go back to scrolling. You'll post a video of your kids at the park. You'll leave your profile on public because you want the likes. You'll keep believing that your gut instinct is enough to protect you. That's what Martha thought, right up until the moment her daughter told her Leo was sitting in the living room. That's the moment the world turns gray. That's the moment you realize that the person you thought you were, the smart one, the careful one, was just a line of code I hadn't finished writing yet. My monitors are glowing. The tactical gloves are back on. I have a new list of targets, and the voice cloning software is already warming up. It sounds so lifelike, doesn't it? The way the synthetic voice cracks when it says, "Help me, Grandma." I'm not a monster. I am just a mirror, reflecting the vulnerability you refuse to admit you have. The Higgins file is closed. The Miller file is open. I'll be seeing you soon. Maybe I'll sound like your son. Maybe I'll sound like your wife. But by the time you realize it's me, the wire will already be confirmed. Stay safe, if you can.